Hi Reddit. I'm 32 years old, and I've been married to my wife Jenna for almost 5 years. For a while, I thought we had a solid relationship. We had our ups and downs, like any couple, but nothing I thought we couldn't work through. A year ago, things started to change. Jenna became distant, cold. She'd come home late from work, barely talk to me, and any attempt to connect was met with indifference. At first, I chalked it up to stress. Her job had gotten intense, and we'd been trying to have a baby for over a year with no success. I thought maybe she was just tired of the pressure, the doctor appointments, the constant cycle of hope and disappointment. But then, out of nowhere, Jenna started acting differently. More affectionate. More engaged. She'd cook dinner again. She'd laugh at my dumb jokes. It felt like I had my wife back. And then she dropped the bomb. She was pregnant. I was stunned. Happy, of course. Overjoyed, even. I'd wanted this for so long, and the way she told me, tears in her eyes, holding up the test, the tiny shoes she bought just in case, it all seemed perfect. She told me she was about 8 weeks along and had already seen her doctor. I didn't question it. Why would I? That moment felt like a turning point. We started planning everything. I cleared out the spare room. We talked names, nursery themes, parenting styles. She even suggested we go to therapy together to prepare for parenthood. I was thrilled. I genuinely believed our marriage was healing. But looking back now, that was when the real lies began. She started being overly protective of her phone. I'd walk into the room and she'd shove it under a blanket or turn it face down. She started sleeping in a separate room because the pregnancy made her too uncomfortable. She stopped letting me go to doctor appointments with her, said the clinic had weird policies about COVID precautions and partners attending ultrasounds. It all sounded plausible, annoying, but plausible. Then came the baby shower. It was Jenna's idea. She planned it all herself, said she didn't want me to lift a finger because I'd done so much already. I remember thinking that was sweet, generous. The guest list was small, mostly her friends, a couple of mine, and some family. But something happened at that shower that made everything start to unravel. And I haven't slept properly since. The baby shower was held at Jenna's best friend Megan's house. Megan had been part of our lives since college, loud, funny, always the one taking charge of group events. She decorated everything in soft yellows and greens, the whole gender-neutral aesthetic. There were balloons, cupcakes with baby feet on them, little onesie-shaped cookies, all the usual stuff. Everyone was smiling, laughing, congratulating Jenna. She soaked it up, glowing with attention. I remember thinking, wow, she's really happy now. Maybe this baby really did save us. But as I looked around the room, I noticed something weird. There was no bump. Now, I'm not clueless. I know that at 6 months, some people carry small. But Jenna had started wearing flowy clothes for a few weeks now, nothing tight, nothing revealing. At the shower, she wore a huge, oversized cardigan over a maxi dress. And I'm telling you, from the side, there was nothing. Just a flat silhouette. Not even a suggestion of a bump. I told myself to stop overthinking. Maybe it was the dress. Maybe I just wasn't seeing it right. But then came the gifts part. Jenna had already opened a bunch of them, thanking everyone, getting misty-eyed. Then Megan stood up and said she had something special, something just for Mom. She pulled out a folder, waved it in the air, and handed it to Jenna. It was a printed-out certificate for a 3D ultrasound package at a private clinic downtown. Megan had paid for the full package, high-res imaging, a heartbeat recording, even a teddy bear with the sound inside. Everyone clapped. I smiled. But Jenna? She froze. Like really froze. She didn't reach for the envelope. Didn't say thank you. Didn't even look at Megan. Just stood there, pale, awkwardly clutching her belly like she was suddenly self-conscious. Megan laughed it off, said she figured Jenna hadn't gone in for one yet and thought this would be fun. Jenna finally forced a smile and muttered something like, wow, that's sweet. But her whole vibe had changed. The rest of the party went on, but something felt off. She rushed through the rest of the gifts, skipped the cake entirely, and said she had a headache and needed to lie down. Megan looked confused, maybe even a little hurt, but didn't press. As soon as we got in the car, Jenna started crying. Not silent, overwhelmed tears, this was panic. Like full-on, hyperventilating, hands-shaking panic. I pulled over and asked what was wrong, but she kept saying, it's too much. This is too much. I asked her if she was okay, if something was wrong with the baby. And that's when she said it. Don't be mad. 2 words that make your stomach drop, right? My heart started pounding. I didn't say anything, just stared at her. She looked out the window and whispered, I haven't had the ultrasound yet. I wanted to wait longer, for the baby to be more developed. That didn't sit right with me. At 6 months, you've already had multiple scans. You've heard the heartbeat. You've had blood work. At least one ultrasound should have happened by now. And that's when I started to feel it, that cold, slow creep of dread up the back of my neck. She was hiding something. And suddenly, I wasn't sure I believed any of it. That night after the baby shower, Jenna barely spoke. She went straight to bed and locked the door behind her. I didn't push. I sat on the couch, staring at the stupid little onesie someone had gifted us. Future All-Star, it said, with a tiny football on the chest. I held it in my hands and just felt empty. Something was seriously wrong. And I couldn't ignore it anymore. I didn't sleep at all. I lay there replaying every moment of the last few months, the day she told me she was pregnant, the sudden change in her behavior, how she never let me come to her appointments. I'd believed her because I wanted to. Because I thought it was finally our turn to be happy. But my gut was screaming at me now. The next morning, I waited until she left the house. She told me she was going to yoga, which she'd recently picked up again to stay fit during pregnancy. As soon as her car backed out of the driveway, I went into her closet. And I found something that made my heart stop. Shoved behind a stack of old shoes was a white plastic bag from a costume store. Inside it? A fake pregnancy belly. It was soft silicone, labeled 6 to 7 months, and came with adjustable straps. I sat on the floor staring at it for a long time. My brain refused to process it. But it was there, real, cold in my hands. I checked the receipt in the bag. She'd bought it 2 months ago. That means she was never pregnant. Not once. Every bit of it, the tears, the baby talk, the glowing smiles, was a lie. I felt nauseous. I actually ran to the bathroom and threw up. Then I sat on the cold tile floor and tried to make sense of any of it. Why? Why would she do this? When she got home an hour later, I was still in the living room, holding the fake belly in my lap. She walked in and froze. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Her face turned white. She dropped her keys, just stood there, shaking. And that's when she broke. She started crying, begging, dropping to her knees, saying she never meant for it to go this far. That she was scared I was going to leave her. That after all the fights and distance, she thought this was the only way to fix us. I sat there, completely silent. I felt like I didn't know the woman in front of me. She kept talking, rambling, saying that she was going to get pregnant, eventually. That she was tracking her cycle and was planning to make it real. Just needed a little more time. But once everyone believed it, she felt trapped. She couldn't take it back. Then she said something that stopped me cold. I had to make you love me again. I didn't even respond. I got up, walked out. I needed space to think. Because the part she didn't know? I'd already taken one more step before she got back. And I'd uncovered something even worse. I didn't go far after I walked out. Just sat in my car in the driveway, trying to breathe. But the whole time, my mind kept drifting back to something she'd said a few weeks ago, something that felt like nothing at the time. She told me she'd set up a pregnancy folder on her laptop. Somewhere to keep track of prenatal appointments, due date calculators, baby name lists, the usual stuff. Back then, I didn't care enough to look. But now? That folder became all I could think about. I waited a couple of hours, enough time for her to cry herself into silence. Then I went back inside. She was still in the bedroom with the door shut. The lights were off. I didn't say a word, I just grabbed her laptop off the desk and took it to the guest room. It wasn't even password protected. I opened the folder she'd mentioned, titled Baby 2024. Inside were a bunch of PDFs, some Word docs, even a sonogram image. My stomach twisted again. But when I opened the file, I realized something subtle, but obvious once I knew where to look. The date on the ultrasound? March 2017. Almost 7 years ago. The name on the image? Not hers. It was a random picture pulled off the internet. I reverse image searched it just to be sure. It was from a health blog article. Stock photo. Every document in that folder was a prop. A downloaded pregnancy checklist, fake test results with her name poorly photoshopped in, and one particularly elaborate Word doc titled Baby Plan Timeline. It read like a script. The whole pregnancy was a performance. But there was one more thing. In the downloads folder, not even tucked away, was a receipt for a prepaid hotel room. 3 nights. Last month. Downtown. Booked under her maiden name. That alone might have meant nothing. But then I saw the name of the second guest listed under the reservation. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. It was a guy named Evan. I didn't know any Evan. Not in our family. Not in our friend group. So I clicked into her email, typed Evan in the search bar. And what came up made my skin crawl. She'd been emailing him for months. Flirty messages. Late-night notes. A few pictures, none of them explicit, but still crossing every imaginable line. And then, near the top of the inbox, an email from 2 days before the baby shower. He still doesn't know. But I think I can keep the act up a little longer. That was it. That was the moment my marriage died. Because now I knew it wasn't just a lie about the baby, it was a lie about everything. Jenna hadn't faked a pregnancy to fix our relationship. She faked it to cover up the affair. And Evan? He wasn't just some fling. She'd written about him like he was her escape plan. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there in the guest room with her laptop open, reading through every message she'd ever sent to Evan. Most of it was gut-wrenching. Little jokes about how clueless I was, comments about how this fake baby thing had bought her time. Time for what, exactly? I wasn't sure yet, but I kept reading. And then I saw it, buried in one of the older threads. She told Evan she was going to wait until after the baby shower to talk to a divorce lawyer. That she wanted to secure the house and assets before making her move. She wrote, "Once he's too deep into the baby stuff, he'll give me whatever I want." That's the plan. The plan. That word stuck in my head like a knife. This wasn't an impulsive, desperate lie. It was premeditated, calculated. A months-long performance built on manipulation, all while lining up her exit strategy. And she was going to walk away looking like the betrayed, exhausted mother-to-be. And I would have been the guy who left her during a pregnancy. But now, I had proof. I had everything. The fake belly. The emails. The receipts. Even the timeline she typed out like a blueprint for my downfall. And here's where it got worse. She wasn't just seeing Evan. She was moving in with him. That same day, in another email chain, she'd sent him the listing to an apartment they were considering. 2-bedroom. Modern. Close to where he worked. She even mentioned that she wanted to sign the lease before the next cycle, whatever that meant, maybe some reference to her pretending to be pregnant longer, or maybe code for something else. I stared at the screen, reading that email over and over, until my eyes burned. She had no intention of staying with me. None. The baby wasn't a cry for help. It was bait. And I was supposed to be the idiot who fell for it. Sign over half of everything. Give her the house. Probably even offer child support, because she was going to fake a miscarriage eventually. She even hinted at that in one of the emails. If I time it right, I can still get sympathy and a clean break. I should have been furious, but instead, I felt hollow. Dead inside. I closed the laptop, sat there in silence. And then I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to play dumb. Just like she wanted. Because if she could play a part for months, so could I. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen like nothing had happened. Jenna was already there, sipping her coffee wrapped in her usual robe. Her eyes were puffy, like she'd been crying all night. She wouldn't look at me. Didn't say a word. Just sat at the table, scrolling through her phone like it was a normal Monday. I smiled. Said good morning. Kissed her on the head. She flinched just a little, but she didn't stop me. And that's when I knew for sure, she still thought I was in the dark. Perfect. I told her I was going to take the day off work. Said I just needed a mental reset, what with all the baby stress and the baby shower and how emotional she'd been lately. I acted concerned. Supportive. Said maybe we should go to the doctor together next week, get a peek at the baby's progress. She hesitated, then gave me this weak smile and said, yeah, maybe. Right. Maybe. I went to the garage, got in my car, and drove off like I was heading to work. But I didn't go to work. I went to a lawyer. And I brought everything with me, photos, printouts, screenshots. I told the lawyer everything. Laid it all out. At first, she just blinked at me like I was making the whole thing up. Then I showed her the costume belly. The hotel receipts. The emails to Evan. The entire disgusting charade. Her first words? You need to protect your assets immediately. She told me that what Jenna was doing wasn't just immoral, it bordered on fraud. That if I played this right, not only could I protect myself financially, but I could also build a case strong enough to prevent her from getting anything if she tried to pull some fake victim routine in court. That's when I knew I was all in. So we started building the plan. Step 1, quietly separate our finances. I'd already started doing that weeks ago when she began acting strange, so it wasn't hard to finish the process. She had no access to my personal account anymore, just the shared one, which I left a small balance in to keep up appearances. Step 2. Start recording. Every interaction. Every conversation. I ordered a couple of discreet audio recorders that looked like USB drives and kept one on me at all times. Nothing illegal, I checked. Just covering my bases. Step 3. Stall. I played the role of the loving, supportive husband. Told her I wanted to make things work, that the baby brought us closer. I even suggested a little getaway, just the two of us, before things got too hectic with the pregnancy. And she bought it. Completely. She smiled more. She started planning again. Even started leaving her laptop open around me like she didn't have a care in the world. But behind that smile, I could see her counting down. She was still going to leave me. She just didn't know I'd be the one opening the door. The getaway was Jenna's dream scenario. I told her we needed to reconnect before parenthood changed everything. That we owed it to ourselves to spend a weekend together, away from all the stress. She lit up like it was prom night all over again. Said it was exactly what we needed. I booked a secluded Airbnb in the mountains. Cozy little place with a view of the lake, fireplace, no neighbors for miles. Perfect for what I had in mind. What she didn't know was that I also booked a second cabin. About 20 minutes away. That's where I left the real guests. Tessa, my sister. And Daniel, my best friend and now, my partner in exposure. They had everything. The backup drive. The copies of her emails. Photos of the fake belly. Even the confirmation email for the apartment lease she was planning to sign with Evan, which I'd found in her deleted folder the night before we left. And most importantly, they had the recording devices. Small, discreet, fully charged. I'd already placed one in my bag, one in the car, and one, tucked neatly between the cabin's couch cushions. All I needed from Jenna was one good confession. The rest would write itself. When we got there, everything felt fake. The smiles. The forced laughter. The way she kept rubbing her stomach like she had to remind herself to keep up the act. She kept saying things like, "It's just so nice to get away, and we're going to be amazing parents." It made my skin crawl. That first night, we made dinner together. I played along, kept the wine flowing, just enough for her to drop her guard. After the second glass, she started talking faster, giggling at her own stories. She even admitted she hadn't felt the baby kick yet. Then she laughed and said, "Guess it takes after you." Lazy. That moment, right there, almost broke me. I looked her dead in the eyes and asked, "Do you ever worry something might go wrong? I mean, this is all happening so fast." She blinked. And for the briefest second, I saw it. The flicker of panic. Then she laughed, shook her head, and said, "I don't think about things like that." I nodded. Let the silence stretch just long enough. And then I said something that made her freeze. "I'm glad you told Evan, though. Must be nice having someone you trust to talk to." Dead silence. She stared at me. Like her brain was buffering. Then, weakly, "What?" I smiled. "You've been emailing him. Planning everything. The new apartment. The timing. The fake miscarriage you were gonna stage after the shower." She stood up so fast her glass fell over. "How long have you?" I cut her off. "Long enough." Her face twisted. She looked like a puppet whose strings had just snapped. She opened her mouth, trying to spin something, anything, but no words came. And in that moment, she knew. She wasn't in control anymore. I leaned forward, calm as ice, and said, "It's all recorded, Jenna. All of it. The belly. The fake documents. The emails. The hotel stays. The lies." She started crying, shaking her head, whispering, "Please, don't do this." But I wasn't done. I told her about the lawyer. About the file waiting with my sister. About how, in the next few days, she'd be served with divorce papers, and everything she tried to manipulate would blow up in her face. She fell to her knees, sobbing, begging. But I didn't touch her. Didn't comfort her. I stood, grabbed my coat, and walked to the door. As I opened it, I turned back and said the last thing I ever planned to say to my wife. "The baby was never real, Jenna. But this ending? This is as real as it gets." And then I left. I didn't go straight home after I left the cabin. I drove to the second Airbnb where Tessa and Daniel were waiting. When I walked in, I didn't say anything at first, just handed over the recorder. Daniel plugged it in. We listened in silence. Every word was clear. Her voice trembling, asking how long I'd known, trying to bargain, deny, then break down when she realized it was all real. The best part? She never once denied the plan. Not the fake pregnancy, not Evan, not the emails. She didn't say "You've got it wrong." She said, "Please, don't do this." That was all I needed. Tessa, who's always been the calm one, just nodded and said, "You're ready now." Hit her with everything. And we did. The next morning, Jenna got served with divorce papers. Certified. Official. Airtight. But I didn't stop there. I sent a curated packet to her parents, who, by the way, had thrown us a surprise dinner the week after she announced the pregnancy. They'd cried at the thought of becoming grandparents. I figured they deserved the truth. They were furious. Her mother called me that night, sobbing. Said she couldn't believe her daughter would do something so twisted. Her dad didn't call, but I later heard through a mutual family friend that he'd kicked Jenna out of the house when she showed up crying with a duffel bag. I didn't take pleasure in that. Okay, maybe a little. Evan? He didn't even try to reach out. Maybe Jenna warned him. Maybe he just ghosted when things blew up. Either way, he vanished. She lost both of us in one weekend. Word spread fast. A few of her friends who'd been fawning over her pregnancy on social media started unfollowing her. One even sent me a message saying, "I can't believe she lied about the baby. You deserved better." She didn't post anything. No denial. No explanation. Just disappeared from the internet completely. But then came the weird part. The silence. I expected a storm. Screaming, threats, some grand monologue about how I ruined her life. But she went radio silent. No calls. No emails. Nothing. Which, honestly, was more unsettling than anything she could have said. Because I knew Jenna. She never accepted defeat. So I kept my guard up. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, I found out why. It started with a voicemail from an unknown number. Blocked, actually. Her voice came through shaky and soft, like she was trying to sound fragile. "I'm in therapy now. I know what I did was wrong. I wasn't well, and I'm getting help. I just hope someday you can forgive me." I didn't respond. But I saved the message. The next day, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize, but I had a hunch. It was Jenna. She didn't say who she was. Just sent a long, overly polite message saying she regretted how things ended and wanted to know if I'd be willing to meet for closure. Said it wasn't about getting back together, just owning her mistakes. I wasn't buying it. But I didn't reply. I forwarded the message to my lawyer. She agreed with my gut, don't engage. Keep documenting. Let her spiral. But then, she changed tactics. Suddenly, a couple of mutual friends started reaching out. People who hadn't spoken to me in months. All of them sharing the same story. Jenna says she's pregnant again, for real this time. One guy even told me she was going around saying that I knew and was ignoring her in anger. I laughed when I heard that. Then I stopped laughing. Because I realized what she was doing. She wasn't just trying to fix her image, she was planting a story. A new version. One where I had found out she was really pregnant after filing, and had cruelly abandoned her anyway. That the fake pregnancy was a misunderstood scare and that this new miracle baby, was what broke us apart. A lie within a lie. She was trying to flip the narrative. Play the long game. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I had Daniel reach out, pretending to be curious, acting like he was still on her side. She took the bait. Hook, line, and desperate. She told him everything. That she was planning to post a soft announcement soon. That she already had an appointment lined up at a clinic. That maybe, if things went well, she'd clear the air in a few weeks. Subtle. Strategic. A redemption arc. But here's the twist. Daniel recorded the call. And when we listened to it, it was clear. She still wasn't pregnant. She even admitted it in a whisper, laughing, "Not yet, but this time I'll actually follow through." It was all a setup. Again. She hadn't learned anything. She wasn't sorry. She was just evolving the lie. Trying to save face. Trying to spin gold from garbage. And that's when I made my decision. I wasn't just going to let her fade away. I was going to make sure that this time, she didn't get to rewrite the ending. The timing had to be perfect. I waited 2 more weeks, just enough for her to get confident, to really start laying the foundation for her "I've changed" narrative. She made her Instagram private again. Changed her profile pic to something soft and glowy. Then came the quote posts. "The comeback is always stronger than the setback and you never know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice." Classic. But the real red flag? She updated her bio to read, "Mama to be yellow heart one day at a time." And that's when I knew it was time. I pulled together everything, every email, every recording, the receipts, the photos of the fake pregnancy belly, the screenshots from her conversations with Evan and Daniel, the video from the cabin, the new audio of her admitting the second fake pregnancy. Then I wrote one simple message. No name calling. No insults. Just a thread of facts, timelines, and evidence. I posted it anonymously through a shared account used for whistleblowing in our town. No way for her to trace it back to me. It included blurred, but clearly legitimate, documents, carefully redacted names, and timestamps that aligned with her miracle pregnancy claims. The post went viral in under 48 hours. People figured it out almost instantly. Her friends, her followers, even her coworkers. It didn't take much. They knew the timeline. They knew the baby shower had happened. They remembered the weird silence afterward. One girl even commented, "Wait, this explains why she cried and left my kid's birthday party for pregnancy cramps. She wasn't even pregnant?" Then came the flood. Old friends calling her out. Her aunt, yes, her own auntie, commenting, "This is deeply disturbing. You need real help." The final blow? Her workplace announced an internal investigation the next day. She worked at a nonprofit. Turns out, she'd claimed sick leave for pregnancy complications. Faking a medical condition to get time off? Yeah, that's fraud. And Evan? He broke his silence. Posted a short message that said, "I had no idea. I feel sick." Then deactivated his account completely. Jenna disappeared. Deleted everything. Blocked everyone. Her number no longer works. I heard from a friend that she left the state, moved in with a distant cousin somewhere out west. Nobody's heard from her since. As for me? I'm okay now. The divorce went through. I kept the house. She got nothing. Not even a goodbye letter. And strangely enough, I'm not angry anymore. Because I beat her at her own game. She tried to manipulate me, trap me, ruin me. But I stayed quiet, planned, watched. And when the time came, I didn't shout. I handed her the rope, and she did the rest. So here I am. No baby. No wife. Just freedom. And for the first time in years, I can finally breathe.